I mean, looking back at everything that happened, I still can't believe how dramatic everyone got about the whole situation. Like, I was just trying to be happy, you know? But I guess I should start from the beginning because people always want to hear the whole story, and honestly, there's so much context that everyone just ignores. So, Kurt and we'd been together for like 7.5 years when all this started. We were coming up on our 10th anniversary, can you believe that? 10 years. And I'm not gonna lie, things were really good for a long time. We had this cute little apartment with the mismatched furniture from when we moved in together. You know how it is when you're young and just combining two lives. His ugly brown couch that smelled like his old roommate's dog, my white IKEA bookshelf that was always a little wobbly. Kurt had this habit of leaving coffee rings on our wooden table, these perfect brown circles, and I had like 30 scented candles everywhere because I was obsessed with Bath and Body Works back then. The vanilla ones with the wax all melted down the sides in weird drips. Kurt was always this quiet type, which I liked at first because it felt mysterious. You know, like he was thinking deep thoughts or whatever. He'd sit there reading on his phone, and I'd be talking about my day, and he'd make these little humming sounds like he was listening. He never really liked confrontation, which honestly was nice because my ex before him was always starting fights about stupid stuff. With Kurt, everything was just peaceful, I guess. But then, like 2.5 years ago, something shifted. I don't even know how to explain it, but Kurt just started getting really withdrawn, like more than usual. He'd come home from work and just sit on that brown couch, staring at the TV, but not really watching anything. The thermostat became this whole thing because he was always cold, wanting it at like 75 degrees, and I'm over here sweating. There'd be dishes in the sink for days, his coffee mug with the chipped handle just sitting there with that gross film on top. And I'm trying to be supportive. You know, I mean, I'd ask him what's wrong, and he'd just shrug and say he was tired. But it wasn't just tired, it was like this dark cloud following him around everywhere. Our bedroom started feeling like a morgue, honestly. He got these prescription bottles on his nightstand, antidepressants or whatever, and the pills would rattle when he'd toss and turn all night. The sound was so annoying. That's actually around the time I started getting closer to Spencer at work. Spencer was this guy in accounting, kind of tall with this slightly crooked smile that was actually really cute. He'd always lean against the counter in our break room, right next to that motivational poster about teamwork that was peeling at one corner. The fluorescent lights in there were terrible, made everyone look washed out, but somehow Spencer still looked good. I mean, it started innocent, you know? Just normal work conversations. But then one day I'm in there with my favorite mug, the blue one with the small chip on the handle, and the vending machine is humming in that annoying way it does, and Spencer asks me how I'm doing. Like, really asks, not just the polite version. And I guess I just started talking about how things were at home, how Kurt was going through this rough patch, and it was affecting everything. And Spencer actually listened. Like, he put his phone down and looked at me and asked follow-up questions. When's the last time Kurt did that? I'm thinking, when's the last time my own husband cared enough to ask about my day without looking at his phone or making those little distracted noises? So we started talking more. Every day, basically. Spencer would find reasons to come by my department, or I'd time my coffee breaks when I knew he'd be in the break room. It felt so good to have someone who was actually interested in what I had to say, someone who smiled when they saw me coming instead of just existing in the same space. But of course Kurt had to make it weird. I come home one night, probably around 11:47, because I remember looking at the clock, and Kurt's sitting on the edge of our bed, looking at his phone. Our bedroom was such a mess, my work clothes thrown over the chair, that ceiling fan making its stupid clicking sound that we kept saying we'd fix, but never did. And his hands are shaking a little, which should have been my first clue that he was about to be dramatic. He shows me his phone, and it's like screenshots of my messages with Spencer. Nothing bad, just normal friend conversations, but Kurt's acting like he caught me robbing a bank or something. And I'm thinking, are you kidding me right now? You're going through my phone? That's so possessive and insecure. And honestly, maybe if Kurt actually talked to me once in a while, instead of moping around all the time, I wouldn't need to have actual conversations with other people. I told him exactly that. I mean, Spencer is just a friend. And if Kurt can't handle me having friends, then that says more about him than it does about me. But Kurt's sitting there with his red-rimmed eyes, and I can tell he's been crying, which just made the whole thing more awkward. Like I'm not doing anything wrong here. I'm just talking to someone who actually cares about my feelings. But then things got worse at home. Kurt's sex drive was basically non-existent, which I get, the antidepressants and whatever. But that doesn't mean I have to suffer, right? We'd try sometimes, usually late at night when we were both exhausted, and it just wasn't working. He couldn't perform. And I'm lying there staring at that digital clock showing 11:47 or whatever, listening to the neighbor's TV through our thin walls, and I'm thinking, this is my life now. And one night I just couldn't take it anymore. I mean, I wasn't trying to be mean, but I have needs, you know? So I asked him, straight up, can I get sex somewhere else since you're not in the best form? And he looked at me like I'd slapped him. But honestly, it's a fair question. I'm not asking for something crazy here. I'm just saying, if you can't meet my needs, then maybe we need to figure out another solution. That's when I started really thinking about opening up our relationship. I'd read articles about it, done research, and lots of couples do this successfully. It's not like some weird, kinky thing, it's just being realistic about human needs. So I brought it up to Kurt one morning over breakfast. He was letting his cereal get all soggy, just stirring it around, while I'm trying to have a serious conversation about our future. He said no immediately. Something about his core values and how he didn't believe in that. But I'm thinking, okay, your core values are more important than my happiness? That seems selfish. So I didn't drop it. I mean, this was important. Our marriage was falling apart, and I was trying to find a solution that could work for both of us. It took like a year of conversations, honestly. Kurt was so stubborn about it, but I kept explaining how this could actually help us. Like maybe if I was getting my needs met elsewhere, there wouldn't be so much pressure on him. And maybe if he found someone else too, he'd remember what it feels like to be wanted. It made perfect sense to me. The breakthrough finally came one night after we'd been talking for hours. Kurt was on the couch looking completely defeated. There was an empty tissue box on the coffee table from all his crying, and my phone kept buzzing with messages that I couldn't check because we were in the middle of this important conversation. The TV was still on but muted, showing some late-night infomercial with people way too excited about kitchen gadgets. And Kurt just gave in. He was like, fine, whatever you want. Which wasn't exactly the enthusiastic agreement I was hoping for, but it was progress. I tried not to seem too excited because I didn't want him to change his mind, but internally I was like, finally. This is going to be so good for both of us. Once he sees how much happier I am, he'll realize this was the right choice. Spencer and I had been building up to something physical for months, so when Kurt finally agreed to open things up, it felt like this huge weight had been lifted. Spencer had this bachelor pad apartment with mismatched furniture and Venetian blinds that let in these perfect afternoon light strips. It smelled like his cologne mixed with coffee, and I remember putting my wedding ring in my purse and seeing 3 missed calls from Kurt on my phone. But you know what? Kurt had agreed to this. He said it was okay. So I didn't have to feel guilty about finally being with someone who actually wanted me. And, wow, I had forgotten what it felt like to be desired like that. Spencer was so present, so focused on me, not distracted or medicated or depressed. Just pure want and attention. We ended up sleeping together at least 10 times over the next few months. Sometimes at his place, sometimes in his car, once in a hotel room during our lunch break, and every time I felt more like myself. Like I was remembering who I used to be before I became Kurt's caretaker and emotional support system. But then Kurt decided we needed to move. He found this house like an hour away from my work, and he was all excited about it being a fresh start. All these cardboard boxes labeled in his neat little handwriting, and he's hanging pictures trying to make it homey. But I'm thinking, moving isn't going to fix our problems. Just because we're in a new place doesn't mean I'm going to stop living my life. Plus, now I was an hour away from Spencer, which was super inconvenient. But I figured, okay, maybe this is an opportunity to meet new people. I downloaded a few dating apps, found this cute coffee shop in our new neighborhood with chipped ceramic mugs and a barista with a man bun who kept looking over at me. I turned my wedding ring around so the diamond was facing inward, and honestly, there were some really interesting guys in the area. I started messaging a few people, just casual conversations at first. But it felt good to have options again, you know? Kurt couldn't expect me to just sit at home and be miserable just because we moved. The whole point of our arrangement was that I get to explore connections with other people. Things were going pretty well, actually. I was meeting new people, feeling attractive and wanted again. And Kurt seemed less stressed about the Spencer situation since we weren't working together anymore. But then, like a week ago, everything went sideways. I had gone out with this guy, Marcus, nothing serious, just drinks and conversation. But we ended up back at his place, and I guess I didn't shower before coming home. I walk into our bedroom at like 1:23 in the morning, and Kurt's sitting there waiting for me. The digital clock was glowing in the dark, and I could tell immediately that he knew. My lipstick was probably smudged, my hair smelled like Marcus's cologne, and Kurt's hands were clenched in his lap like he was trying not to shake. And I'm thinking, come on, we have an arrangement. Why is he being weird about this? But Kurt just looked at me with these devastated eyes and didn't say anything, which was somehow worse than if he had yelled. The next morning, I'm in the kitchen and Kurt's making coffee with shaking hands, won't even look at me. His breakfast is just sitting there getting cold, and the kitchen timer is beeping about something, but neither of us moves to turn it off. My phone keeps buzzing with messages from Marcus and a few other guys, but I can't check them because the energy in the room is so tense. And then Kurt says it. Just quiet, not dramatic or angry, just tired. He says, I want to leave. And I'm like, wait, what? No, this isn't how this is supposed to go. I mean, he agreed to this arrangement and now he's just gonna bail? That's not fair. I can fix this. I just need to explain everything properly. So we sit down in the living room, and I try to have a rational conversation about what's really going on here. I'm pulling out tissues because I'm getting emotional, and Kurt's got his phone face down on the table like he doesn't want to be interrupted. And I'm explaining how I was never trying to hurt him, how this was supposed to help our marriage, how maybe I got a little carried away, but that doesn't mean we should throw away 10 years. We talked for hours. Like the afternoon light was fading by the time we were done, and my voice was getting hoarse from explaining everything over and over. I told him I could compromise, maybe be more discreet, maybe check in with him more. I wasn't trying to be selfish. I was just trying to save our marriage in the only way I knew how. But Kurt was being so resistant to everything I was saying. Like he'd already made up his mind and wasn't really listening to my solutions. Which was frustrating because I was putting myself out there, being vulnerable about my needs and my mistakes, and he was just sitting there being stubborn. I thought we had worked things out, honestly. Kurt seemed calmer by the end of our conversation, and I was feeling hopeful that we could get back on track. But then I find out he was going behind my back the whole time. I discovered he'd been looking at apartment listings on his browser. There was a business card from some lawyer's office in his car. He was being all secretive with his phone, avoiding eye contact, acting shady. And I'm thinking, I cannot believe he went behind my back like this. We were working things out, having honest conversations about our problems, and he's out there talking to lawyers and planning his escape. That's so sneaky and dishonest. Like, if he wanted to leave, he should have just said so. Instead of pretending to work on our marriage while secretly planning his exit strategy. It just shows that he was never really committed to fixing our problems. He was just buying time to get his ducks in a row. 2 days ago, he finally came clean about everything. I walk into our bedroom and there are suitcases on the bed. Kurt's methodically packing his clothes, moving hangers around in the closet with that scraping sound, and I can see he's turned our wedding photo face down on the dresser. My phone is showing like 15 missed calls from Spencer because word got back to him about Kurt leaving, and everyone's acting like this is some kind of crisis. But Kurt's just calm about the whole thing. Like he's announcing he's going to the grocery store or something. He tells me he found an apartment, he's filed for divorce, and he's moving out today. Just like that. After 10 years, he's walking away because, what, I wanted to be happy? I tried to save our marriage in an unconventional way? I completely lost it. I mean, my mascara is running everywhere. I'm trying to explain how people are going to think this is all my fault, how they don't understand what I've been dealing with. His depression, his family always judging me, living so far away from everyone I care about. I was just trying to survive, and now everyone's going to act like I'm some kind of monster. But Kurt wasn't hearing any of it. He just kept packing, folding his shirts in that precise way he does, putting his toiletries in a separate bag, like our entire marriage was just stuff to be divided up and moved out. And now here I am, sitting in this house that's way too quiet without Kurt's constant sighing and channel flipping. The thermostat is finally set to my preferred temperature. His coffee mug isn't cluttering up the sink, and I don't have to tiptoe around someone's mood all the time. My phone is buzzing with notifications from dating apps, messages from Spencer asking if I'm okay, and honestly, maybe this is for the best. I mean, Kurt was never really happy anyway. Even before the depression, even in our good years, he was always just kind of there. Not particularly excited about anything, not passionate or adventurous. I tried for years to bring out some spark in him, to get him interested in new experiences, but he was always resistant to change. And the truth is, I deserve someone who appreciates me. Someone who doesn't make me feel guilty for wanting to be happy, for having needs and desires. Kurt always made everything so complicated, so heavy. Every conversation became this deep analysis of our relationship, instead of just enjoying each other's company. I've been texting with a few different guys since he left, and it's amazing how much lighter everything feels. No one's monitoring my phone or getting jealous of my friendships. No one's making me feel selfish for wanting attention and affection. I can just be myself without constantly walking on eggshells. Spencer came by yesterday to check on me, and we ended up talking for hours about everything that happened. He thinks Kurt was being controlling and unreasonable, that most people wouldn't have reacted so dramatically to an open marriage arrangement, especially when Kurt had agreed to it in the first place. Like, you can't give someone permission to do something and then get mad when they actually do it. I'm planning to call my sister this weekend and explain the whole situation. She never really liked Kurt anyway. Always said he was too serious and didn't seem fun enough for me. She's going to understand that I was just trying to make the best of a difficult situation. My friends from work have been super supportive too, especially the ones who are single and get how hard it is to be stuck in a relationship that's not meeting your needs. The divorce paperwork should be finalized in a few months, and honestly, I'm kind of excited about starting fresh. I'm thinking about getting back into yoga, maybe taking that pottery class I always wanted to try. There are so many things I put on hold because Kurt wasn't interested, or because I was spending all my energy trying to manage his moods. And who knows? Maybe I'll meet someone amazing. Someone who's actually excited about life and doesn't need antidepressants just to function. Someone who appreciates having a partner who's social and outgoing instead of seeing it as a threat. I mean, I'm still young, I'm attractive, I have a lot to offer the right person. Looking back, I think Kurt and I just grew apart. It happens to lots of couples, especially when you get together young like we did. People change, and sometimes they change in incompatible ways. I became more confident and sure of what I wanted, and Kurt became more withdrawn and anxious. We probably should have ended things sooner instead of trying to force something that wasn't working anymore. I don't have any regrets, honestly. I tried everything I could think of to save our marriage. I communicated my needs clearly. I suggested creative solutions. I was patient with his mental health issues. But you can't save a relationship by yourself, and Kurt just wasn't willing to do the work. He'd rather run away than face our problems head on. So yeah, that's the whole story. I know some people might not understand all the choices I made, but they weren't living my life. They weren't dealing with a depressed partner who couldn't meet their needs. They weren't feeling invisible and unappreciated in their own marriage. I did what I had to do to survive, and I'm not going to apologize for that.